Other silly things. He always leaves the seat up in the toilet. He always leaves it up. I've argued and argued about it. Hey, why argue about it? It doesn't take 2 seconds when you walk in there and knock it down. It takes longer arguing about it than it does to knock it down. Now we can help. When I first got married, I was I used to get this habit. Go to the cupboard, get a cup out, make a cup of tea. Go out to the cupboard, get another cup out, make a cup of tea. Go out to the cupboard, get another cup out, make a cup of tea, and until all the cups are there. Well, I had to learn to make arrangements. So I learned well, why not just wash them up? I mean, sometimes it's just as easy to put the clothes in the bin as it is to throw it next to it. So there are little things that you can do. First of all, look in way, instead of nagging your husband or wife, why not just work on it this way? What can I do to make life a little bit easier in marriage? What can I do to make life a little bit easier in marriage? How can we stop arguing about silly little things? That ain't going to change. If you've argued over the same thing for about three or 4 months, don't go on for 3 or 4 years. Just accept that's the way he is. Accept that's the way she is. And sometimes you might get more done by talking about it than arguing about it. And just and rather than jumping on the bandwagon there and then, just one day a week, meet and say, you have a little discussion and talk about little things that annoy you and how you can come around it. Because the worst thing that you can happen is you jump immediately and the person jumps back. You say something as it happens. They come in and, why did you leave that on there? Because I wanted to. I leave it where I want to leave it. It's my house. No, it doesn't do no good. The more you push someone, the more they push back, and nothing ever gets done. And if it does get done, it gets done reluctantly. And the worst thing that you can do is to make your wife do something or your husband do something they don't want to do. Because they may do it, but there's a bitterness inside. They resent the fact that they were forced and manipulated. And that's another point I could say in marriage. Don't keep manipulating your partner. If you've been married as long as I have, you will know there are certain things that you can do to get things done. But in the end, when a person finds out they've been manipulated, they resent it. Because everybody hates being used. And everyone else being manipulated. So, respect. Okay. Never get married with the intention of changing them, because you can't change anybody. Only God can. Only God can. It says, Jeremiah 13:23. Can an Ethiopian change his skin? Jeremiah 13:23. Can an Ethiopian change his skin, or a leopard his spots? Then may ye also do good that are accustomed to evil. Now look at your husband or look at your wife. Take a look at your husband and wife. That's what they are, accepted. With all our faults, I'll tell you one of the things I've noticed recently. The things that upset me more about Sheila are the things that I miss the most.
It's true.
And I wish that she was here doing them. And I realised that they are the things that I love more than anything else, and I realise I don't want to change them. When you learn to appreciate, I remember hearing a story once about a man that put his house up for sale. He was always complaining about his house. And so he put his house up for sale, and the estate agent came round. And to his house, said, this is how we're going to describe your house. And so he read the description they were going to give of his house and put in the newspaper. And the man listened. He said, I don't want to sell my house. And the estate agent said, why not? He said, I've just listened to you describe my house. And I realised this, that the house I've always wanted is the one I've already got. And if we can learn sometimes in marriage that the person we've always wanted is the person we've already got. And someone says, well, the other man's grass is always greener. Well, that's because he looks after his grass better than you do. That's because he takes care of his grass. If a person is not faithful to you in courting, they're not going to be faithful in marriage. If you find that the person you want to marry is running around after other women, other men, believe me, that's what you've got. So they can say they're sorry. If they ridicule you in courting, it's only going to get worse in marriage. If they do not respect you when you're courting, they're not going to respect you in marriage. Just realise a dog is a dog and he acts like a dog, and a dog can say he's sorry for being a dog, but he's still a dog. And it doesn't matter if a man hits you, abuses you, mocks you, makes you look small in front of his friends when he's courting, that's because that's the way he is. And he can say sorry and ask forgiveness, but you see what he is, because out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh, and bear it in mind, because that's what he is. And he can say he's sorry, or she can say she's sorry as many times as they want to, but that's what they are. And so you need to bear that in mind. And believe me, that's the way the person is. And unlike the fairy stories, kissing the frog isn't going to turn him into a beautiful prince. And neither is putting a gold ring on his or her finger going to change the nature and the character of what they are. So in courting, look at them. There are other things that you can look at when you're courting someone. Look at the relationship of their parents, because that will give you a good idea of how they've been brought up. If you are marrying a man and you see in his family, his mother is the head and makes all the decisions, you may have a man that's not used to making decisions and seeing women make decisions. Now, that's not always the case. It can happen in reverse. Or if you see the husband abusing his wife, you realise that he's been brought up that way. It doesn't mean he's going to do it, but bear it in mind, because that has been his example. Also, in single parent families, when the person has been brought up in single parent families, they've been brought up from a very young age to have no role model of a father and a mother together. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't marry them. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you should bear that in mind. You should look at that. Because suppose that you've got a man, you're marrying a man, and you look at their marriage, and that wife, the man's mother is the one that is wearing the trousers in the house, the one that is making all the decisions, and the husband who is obedient to all those decisions, and your husband has seen that from a very early age. He has no role model of what it means to make decisions or to be the head of the house. Now, that doesn't mean to say you shouldn't marry them, because there are times when it can work out quite successful. But you have to bear those things. You have to bear those things in mind.